Is there anybody out there? So I'm Jeannie. I've been running free art classes since the beginning of lockdown. I'm now doing 2 a week on Wednesdays and Fridays. That might change again soon because as the lockdown eases, I'm cutting back on what I'm doing with this. But I also do private lessons for all ages, all abilities. Incredible results from all in no time at all. I'm just going to grab my sheet of paper to show you that, as I'm sitting somewhere different in the room at the moment than I usually do, and you'll see why in a minute. So 3 hour progress, 10-year-old girl, from that to that, not copying. 3 hours on perspective. Even architects have said they can't believe what they learn. 3 hours on paint and brush technique. 5 lesson progress, 90-year-old stroke victim. 4 lesson progress, 50-year-old German lady. 3 lesson progress, 40-year-old Sri Lankan man. So this is nothing about previous experience. This is about learning core fundamentals, as I call it. And I also refer to it as the grammar, spelling and punctuation of art. So, hello Morwenna, hello Anita. We're going to do something a bit different today, which is why I'm sitting in a different bit of my room. And I'm sorry if the light's a bit blinding. It's going to need to be at some point. So if I just move you for a second, then you can see a different part of my room. So we'll start in a minute. And I was just saying that these lessons have been going since the beginning of lockdown. And I'm just easing up on them as lockdown eases up as well. So we'll see where we go from here. But I'll definitely be here on Sunday. I might change it again next week though, but we'll see how it goes. But I am thinking that I might start doing a little private art class through Zoom for my regulars at a special price. So maybe if you'd like to contact me about that, because I'd love to keep going with some of you guys, because there's a few of you know who you are who've been there throughout, and also some of the rest of you. So keep your eyes open. I'm having a bit of a think about that one at the moment. But I think the free ones might end quite soon now, or at least start going down to 1 day a week. We will start in a moment. I'll just keep talking for another couple of minutes. This morning I ran a live class and I did it with a couple at their home, and we were doing figure drawing basically, and that went very well through Zoom. As I just showed you, the other classes are the preliminary things, but once you understand all that core mechanics, that's when you suddenly can go forward with your art very quickly. My shop will be opening again soon, and in the shop I sell the artworks of my students who've done the 9-hour course. And if you went in there, nobody can believe that some of the people who are hanging in the gallery have only done somewhere between 9 and say 20 hours of tuition with me, and then they've all got their own individual styles, their own individual ways of doing things. So if you want to have a look at that, go to Art at the Beach, so it's www.artatthebeach.co.uk, and then go into the art gallery part and you can see students' work, my work. I've got a number of new pictures that you might have seen on the internet that are going to go up on there in the next few days. And I'll be doing lessons outside again soon, which is why I need to start cutting this down, or back at least, with students. But I'll probably only work with couples or individuals to begin with, none of the great big group lessons, because I think that's going to get too difficult with all the social distancing. But always contact me, always ask. I'm very good at trying to work out ways to make things happen. So there we go. I've got the legendary spotty mug, so I'll just have a sip of tea and then we'll start just in a minute. Hello Emily. Now Emily definitely should keep going if I stop doing this, because you've been here all the way through. You've been brilliant. If anyone happens to have a list of all the lessons I've done so far, that would be really useful if anyone wants to send it through to me. Because soon I might take them down off Facebook and just put them up on the website as well. But there's lots of old lessons up there as well at the moment on Art Jeanni if you want to do other ones. As I said earlier, I think there's about 50 odd up there now. I've lost track now, I must admit. Okay, right, well I think we shall begin. Now, if this gets too bleary for you and you get too blinded by the light, someone could make that into a song, couldn't they? That's showing my age. Then let me know, send me a message on the screen and I'll move, but it'll be easier if I can do it this way. If I do it on the light box, I think I'll totally blind you. So I've got a set of felt pens here. I'm going to do this with both felt pens and with paint, and I'm going to do it in different ways. So today, and I'm sorry I was a bit slow, we're going to use plastic. It doesn't matter if it's plastic wrapping. It could be if you've got plastic clear stuff that I've got to cover my paintings in, plastic from a box or something. It doesn't matter as long as it's clear, so you can see through it. Obviously you can see through to me. And I'm going to do this against the window, so I hope I can get an angle where, yeah, you're not too blinded. You can see I'm looking out at a view of Truro with trees and things. So I'm going to sellotape this plastic onto the window with the view behind me. So I'm doing it like that. If I could have found some masking tape, that would have been better because it will come off the window better. Now to make this work, I've got to not move too much while I'm drawing. So hopefully you can see the bit of my view. What you'll be seeing, because your angle's slightly different to mine, will be different to what I'm seeing. So if it looks like I'm drawing something crazy, it won't be. It's just because where I'm sitting, I'm seeing something different. Now I'm looking through to a house there, and if you shut one eye, but you must keep one height and keep still, you'll find this a lot easier. So I'm drawing in the house's roof there, and I'm drawing the window in there and the window frame. And the whole trick to this is not moving, because if you move your height or your location, everything else will change. There's the side of the house, and there goes the bush covering it. And then there's another bush down here I can see. And then there's a doorway, I think that is. And then the bush comes down and round, and then there's a bit of a window just here. So I've got to line myself back up with it again because I just moved myself a bit. There's a bit of a greenhouse, or no, a conservatory from another building over there. And then there's a bit of a bush again, and there's another tree back here and another tree there, and basically I'm tracing directly from the window. So there's some greenery here. I think we're actually onto the back of my garden now here. In fact, I'm sure that's what I'm seeing now. So here's the fence at the side of my house, and this is, oh, I've forgotten the name of it. I'm really rubbish at plant names. But anyway, that's the plant that grows along the fence at the back. And I can see again fencing there. I can see a shed in a garden over here. I'm just tracing round. And I've got to line myself up again. So don't just draw without checking you're in line with everything you've done. There's another couple of buildings back here. And I'm not going to draw everything in, but you can see how I can basically trace the view. And I'm going quite quickly now, and I'm not being very accurate. And there's the hills in the distance. So we're looking basically at a view of Truro. Now, I'm guessing you can't see that clearly. So I'm going to stick a white sheet of paper behind it. So now, with any luck, you can see clearly what I've just drawn. And that's exactly what I'm seeing. Oops, I'm just going to turn the volume up a bit. That's exactly what I'm seeing through the window. And if I take that away again, I need to move myself around so I'm back in line with where I was. And then I can see everything again, and I could add more details. Now, I'm not going to bother adding more details for now, but I am going to stick a sheet of paper behind it so you can see what I'm doing now. Just for a minute. So if I poke that up there behind and just tape it at the top, you now can see the lines on my plastic. If you were sat here, you don't need the paper behind it. In fact, that would be a bad move, but I'm just doing it so you're able to see what I'm up to. And so I can now take my colours, oh, that didn't work very well. I can now take my colours and start colouring it in. Let me get that stuck there. Right, so the hills in the distance are green, so I'm going to use felt pens for this first one, and I'm going to colour in the hills in the background green. And I am doing this very, very fast and very, very badly. You've got all afternoon. You can make this as beautiful as you like, and you're looking straight at everything to know if you're getting the right colours. Now, I'm very limited on greens, so I'm going to use the same green for a minute on all of these green bits, but then I'm going to do something a bit tricky with it all. So I'm doing it very fast and very badly, and the lawn is obviously green as well. I'm now going to mess with my greens by adding another green in. So I'm using the brighter greens in the foreground, that means at the front, and I won't use the brighter greens in the distance. And I can put little bits of the brighter green in amongst it, but I don't want to use too much back there. I might now use a little bit of my yellow and make the ones forward even brighter by putting, well, the yellow's not working. It's decided it's a non-pen. I'm going to use a bit of blue to make the green a bit stronger, maybe. So I'm going to put a few bits of bluey stuff in with the green back here. And I can even smudge it around a bit, maybe with my fingers. You could fill it in a lot more. I can put a few bits of shadow in some of these things at the bottom of the different bushes. And start building up a picture. And keep going like that. Now the roof of that house that I've been drawing is orangey browny. So I've now got my orange felt pen. And I'm going with the roof tiles, which I could see through. Oh, that one's decided it's not working either. So we'll go for red. Let's hope that one's going. And I got out a new pack of pens as well, just to make sure that they all worked. So that's the red roof, and I might put some tiles on it to make it look more like what I'm actually seeing. And if I had the paper not there, I could be copying the exact colours and the exact marks. So I'm going to put a few darker bits in on that roof, just to make it interesting. I forgot to put the marks on that window, so I'll just put those in. And I can basically keep building up the picture, but really to do this, I shouldn't have the white paper there. I should just be looking through to what I'm seeing behind. Okay, now if I take that off now, you will see the picture more clearly. Now again, not so clearly without the paper behind it, but you can sort of see it there. And if I put the paper behind it, you can see it growing. Now, like all good Blue Peter ladies, which I think I've mentioned before was one of my ambitions as a child, here's one I prepared earlier. And you can see that you could really build up textures and colours, and you've got this beautiful picture on a translucent piece of paper. Now, you could just fix it, like I've got a mirror here, to something and put it against even the wall here. And it looks pretty cool, you can see. Or you could actually end up fixing it to your window like that. Or you could even invent an entirely new view. So from my point of view, the front bit of my view with the greenery is fantastic. And the back bit of my view with all the greenery is fantastic. But I'm not so keen on all these houses here in the middle. So I could even have made myself a bit of a hillside. Look, and if I move that up, you can see very... Ooh, there goes my parrot. You can see how I could actually eliminate those houses and make that look like a hillscape going right into the distance at my window. So there's a bit of a thought. So you can change your entire view, and I could have a permanently blue sky. And I could even have cut the plastic off at the level of my garden. So partly I'm seeing my painting, and partly I'm seeing reality. And you're bringing the two things together with your sheet of plastic. So this is the first version of it, done on plastic. Now, obviously, you'd need to felt pen it in a lot more than I have, but I'd rather give you more ideas than less. That's always my big thing. So I'm now going to show you how you could do exactly the same in paint. And again, this doesn't have to be these folder files. It's just what I have a lot around of in my house. So as I'm always saying, don't feel that I'm telling you to go out and buy these. I'm not. I'm saying use your imagination and find something around the house. You could actually paint straight onto a piece of glass that you sat in front of your window if you wanted to. Or you could buy a piece of Perspex cut to the size of your whole window and mess with the view that way. So this time, if I move you again, I don't want you to get too much glare. So this time, I'm just going to put out a little bit of paint, and we're going to do it this time with paint. So I'm going to give myself, there's a green one I've got here. You could, of course, just do a pen and ink black and white picture that you didn't leave on the window, but you maybe used it just to be a line drawing in a frame, because you could put it against white paper even though it was on plastic. So I've given myself two greens there. I'm going to give myself some of this colour. This is one of my favourite colours. It's called Sky, and it's a really good sky colour. So I'm going to put a bit of that out because the sky is not very blue today here. I'm going to put a little bit of brown, and I'm not going to make this... Hello Suzanne, we've got someone new there. I'm not going to make this exactly right, but I'm giving you the idea again so you can have a bit of a play later. I'm going to put a couple of browns. Now, I'm not going to go mad with this. I'm just going to show you how this would work. Again, when you start this, you can't keep moving because you need to stay in one place so that your picture stays in one place. So I've got my paint, I've got some water here. There's my picture. So the bottom, I'm just giving myself a bit of yellow if I've got some. Yeah, I have. Yellow's good. So I'm going to use a bit of yellow as well just to make that come forward because it's a really vivid yellow. If you look at these colours, you'll see some of them are brighter than others. So some of them come forward more than others. So that yellow is very bright, so it will always come forward. Okay, and I'm going to start painting this. So I'll just pop that there. So I've got my paint. And so I'm going to put the greenery, I'll put some greenery up here at the top. And I can paint this on quite thickly, but still be seeing through it. So I'm putting on the trees there, and I'm going to pick a bit more of the yellow and the other green up, just so we get a bit of variety. And I'm painting along the distant hills, and for me this is in line. If it isn't for you, don't think I've gone mad. It's only purely because I'm sitting in a slightly different position to you. I don't want anything back here too clear because it will take over from the rest of the picture. And I'm going to make this into a new view where I'm not seeing the houses this time. So I'm going to make this more into a woodland view. So I'm going to keep coming down now with slightly brighter and clearer colours. And I'm getting the next row of trees coming down. So I'm using more of the yellow and the brighter green now. And when I get over to the side here, there's already a much brighter green tree. So if I bring myself over to be by that, that will work quite nicely. And also the colours look very different when you're seeing through them like this than when you paint on paper. You get a very different effect. Now you can start seeing my hills and everything going in a bit, or my trees. I'm going to do a bit of brown here for a minute, as if we've got maybe a bit of ground. So this time I'm making it up a bit. And I'm going to make the ground flat so that you realise that's not another tree. So I'm going to make it look a bit flatter by using flatter lines. Okay, and I'm going to maybe make this look like it possibly is even a road coming to my garden. Now I've got a long and winding road leading to my door or whatever. So I'm going to pretend this is a big path coming towards me. I'm going to use a bit more of these bright colours here at the bottom just so that you see them more and they'll come forward more, and I'm getting bigger as I'm coming forward. And you can start seeing something coming forward towards me. I'll just make sure some of my greenery comes down over that brown bit there, because that will look better than it coming up the other way. I'm just going to get a bit of dark brown now and put a few trees in. Oops. Now I could leave it that I'm seeing through to the other picture, or I could have been painting the actual picture I see through with the colours that I see. So you've got options here. You can either make a whole new view, which is what I'm doing this time, or you can do the exact view you're seeing, which is what I did in the other one. So I'm going to put a few trunks of a few trees in now here with my darker colour. And they're coming down this path, so it's a bit of a weird path because I seem to have got a pathway of trees, but never mind. We'll go with that as an idea, why not? And so here come my trees, and a few branches going up into those trees there. And you can start seeing a whole new view out of the window. And if I want to get rid of some more houses, I might actually just darken this bit in a bit and make this like it's a field or something. And you can make up your own thing. You could even find another picture you quite liked and use that with the picture on the plastic on top of it to create the new view forward. So I'm doing that. I'm keeping this down horizontal so you know that's part of the ground. And back here I'm going to use a lighter colour so it goes back a bit, and I'm just going to put a bit of ground in between these trees here, and I really should have done the ground first and the trees second, but now we're getting a nice kind of country view that I'm building up. I'm now going to put a few bushes things in front of it here so that they're crossing over in front of it. And I could put in flowers, I could do all manner of things. So I'm putting in something like a bush down here, and you can see, because you're seeing through the paint, the different brush marks have a lot more impact than they do necessarily on paper. And so there's a bush coming up the front there. Now that's not actually showing that much, so if I put a bit more yellow in it or something, you'll see it more, because I'm having to look back at your screen, because unfortunately when I teach this way, what I see and what you see aren't always exactly the same. To me this is looking very bright, to you it doesn't seem to be, so I'm just going to add a bit more in. I'm going to add a bit more dark as well to give you a bit more contrast. We've talked about contrast before. So if I put a bit of that in now down here, that's maybe making it show more. You'll be able to be seeing my bush a bit more now. I don't know here. So that's meant to be some sort of rose bush or something. And that's covering the front. And then I could put some flowers on that and just keep building it up. So that's idea number 2. So that picture, I'm just going to stick a sheet of white paper behind it again. And you don't need to do that, but it's just so that you can see it more clearly. So now you can probably see it a bit more clearly, the painting, but when I take it away, it looks like you're looking out to the view. And notice as well how the colours change when I put the paper behind it, and how translucent. They almost look like stained glass windows. So we've done that. You could, of course, have made the front into a seascape, let's say, and suddenly pretended I was looking out at the waves in the distance, or a river or something. That would have been quite nice. Put a river where the houses are and leave the trees in front. So let's give that one a quick go. Let's see how that looks. And I always say, play. Just have fun. And even as I teach you, you can hear me. I get ideas as I start. The big mistake a lot of people make is they want to know exactly what they're doing right from the moment they start. Sometimes, in fact nearly always, my best ideas come once I've started, because suddenly you think, oh, I could, oh, what about if I, And so it goes on. Whereas if you go the other way around, you're so stuck in an idea that it's very hard to change your mind about it. So I've got some grey on here already, but I'm going to put some turquoise. And I'm not going to do a lot more, but I'm just going to put a couple of colours on my brush here. And I'm going to start turning, for you that's in front of the tree, okay. I'm going to start making some of this into water now. And you can start seeing it potentially turning into a river or something there, so I can actually eliminate the part of the view I don't want, which is the house bit, and I can start building up some really nice water like that. And I could even put some waves on it. Why you'd have waves on a river in Truro, I don't know, but let's just say that you do. Because, as Henry Ford said, and I've quoted many times, the only limitation is your own imagination. Don't be stuck with your art in what somebody else tells you have to do all the time. Make things up, enjoy it, play with it. Just have a bit of a game with it. And sometimes I do terrible things when I'm messing around, but out of that terrible piece of art comes a brilliant idea that later turns into a really nice piece of art. Now I've got water for you going right through a tree because I can see what you're seeing, and as I said, it's not what I'm seeing at all, so I'm just going to move that over a bit. Let me see if I can get it in the gap for you. I think about there is what you're seeing. That's better, and you can see I'll paint looking into the screen. I can actually make this go around the tree that you're now looking at and around this one a bit. And I've still got some houses showing up here, so I could bring the water line up a bit. That's a bit better. And then I could actually paint a bit of white and grey for the sky at the top and eliminate everything else up there at the top. And you'll get the idea almost that you're looking out of the window, but you're still seeing my trees at the bottom here, but you're seeing something else there. And I have to say it's not my best painting of the sea or a view, but let's just, for a bit of fun, I'm going to paint a huge boat on it now, so that not only have I got a seascape there or a thing, but it's the worst boat you've ever seen, but there you go, there's even a boat sailing across it now. So you can really mess around and have a bit of a play. And on this one, some of my shadows down here on these bushes have disappeared, so I could actually put a bit more shadow on here and there and make this come forward more and incorporate the two views. So there's another idea. That one can come down. And the last idea for today is this, which might be better. It's going to be hard to show you here, but would be to use your picture again. Start off with your distance. So I'm going to start you off over here again. And on the first picture, all I'm going to do is the distance. So in fact, I might go back and reuse this one. Oops. So I'm going to tuck that one I just did, and I'm going to tuck it behind this one. And oops, get it up there without letting this paint touch the other paint. So I've now got one layer, but I've now got a new layer here, completely new, that I can now paint the next layer of the picture on. So I might now go back to painting a garden or something here in the front, as if we're looking through a garden to my sea in the background. And I could paint that all the way down to the bottom. And I could have maybe a bit of it coming up here just to make it a bit more interesting. I could put a kind of branch or two up here. And you'll see that the colours on this line are showing up more because the other one you're viewing through a layer of plastic. And when we've finished, I think unfortunately mine have stuck together a bit. You could have separated each layer of this back again. And you could even have little bits where you're seeing through to the layer behind. And I'm going to put brighter yellow at the bottom here so that it comes forward a bit. And when I've done that, there goes my tree, and I might bring the tree up and over up here. You can see the picture developing and growing in layers. And if I put another one there now, this one will stick. And the idea would be to do each layer in a way that it doesn't stick to the previous one. And you could do this at a desk using a magazine picture or something that you liked and just using the background first. But if I now use these, oops, everything's sticking to each other over here because I've got wet paint all around me. If I go back to this one that I showed you earlier that I did, then I could, if you imagine now, put the clean sheet up in front of that one. I'm going to stick this up by the window so you can see it as well. Oops. And I've stuck the new sheet over the previous sheet. Oh, those two nearly joined together. There we go. I hope you're enjoying this. No one's saying anything to me today. You usually talk to me while I'm doing it. I'm feeling lonely here. So I'm now going to paint a tree and a foreground in front of this one. So I'm going to draw the tree up in front of this grass here. And this tree is on a whole other layer of plastic. And you could build up a beautiful picture working from the background first, coming forward layer by layer by layer. Nobody's talking to me still. And build up, oops, you can see the plastic then move one against the other. I'm going to build up a thicker trunk here, right to the edge of the page, and put in another couple of roots down here. And you can see now how I could build up one picture on top of the next, on top of the next. And over this side, maybe I could draw another tree that was coming from here and coming up the other side. And you start getting a completely different picture. But this image is nothing to do in terms of being connected to that. And what I have seen done before now, when I taught this in schools many years ago, was very clever dad made a box so that each layer then could be slid in to a box slightly apart, and you could build up layer by layer by layer coming forward. One of the good things about that is each new layer of plastic makes the previous layer of the picture get more and more dull and muted, which gives it more and more sense of distance. And if I pick up the last one, the other one I did, and put that, I'm not going to put the whole of it because it will lose the whole picture, but if I used a part of it, I could then have sat that in front again, and you'd be seeing through to another layer coming forward. So possibly, like if you were going to do flowers or something, you would do them on the next layer forward. On the one that I've just done, I need to have a few bits of grass now in the front overlaying these trees. And then you've got the grass behind as well showing. And you're building up incredible depth of field by actually building your picture up on layers and layers and layers of plastic. So if you had a particular view that you wanted to do, or I don't know, a person or something in front of it, some of it you could trace through and paint at a desk maybe, or I sometimes use my glass table here in the art room as a light box, and I put a light under my glass table and then I put the plastic images or whatever on top. But it's a really fun idea for building up, either changing your view or building a view, or even if we go back to the very first one that was done with felt pens, that on its own is nothing very special. But by the time you mount that up on a piece of white paper, then you can start seeing the whole picture. Now, somebody's sending me lots of thumbs up and things now, so thank you for that, because I was feeling quite lonely just now. Usually I've got people interacting the whole way through. But anyway, I will see you on Wednesday. Please like and share this right now. And please put some nice comments up on my Facebook and my TripAdvisor, which is Art at the Beach Newquay, because that's a nice way of thanking me. And if you want to do anything more, please donate to the NHS, because I started this. My daughter's up at the hospital working for the NHS as an occupational therapist, and I am very aware how hard they're all working and what, you know, dangers they're working with. So as I said at the very beginning, I'm thinking as the lockdown gets lifted, I need to work more, to be honest, and I'm getting more and more offers of work at the moment. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is go down to Sundays probably soon, but I'll do this Sunday and then I'll tell you for sure on Sunday. But I am thinking of opening a little art group with some of you, and there will be a small payment, but it won't be a lot as long as I have a number of you doing it. So let me know if you're interested in that as well. And if you want, there's still some other lessons up on Facebook, Art Jeanni, that you can go back to and you can look at now that are all still free ones. In a while I might take those down and just bring them to my website, but for the moment they're all visible, so take advantage of them while they're still there. Take care, lovely to see you all. Please write me some comments. It's always nice to know what you think of all these different ideas. I've got to say, looking across like that now, you'd think I was living in some sort of wonderful woodland, wouldn't you, rather than looking out at a view of houses. But there you go. Take care, be good, be safe, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Private lessons always available and starting to book quickly. So if you want a group or a private lesson, they work really well on Zoom, incredibly well. Take care. Bye.